All right, it's time to start the Facilities Committee meeting of the Keystone Central School Board, February 25th, 2025. I'm going to call that meeting to order at this point. And I guess we can move into our first item on the agenda, and that is a presentation, Liberty Curtain progress update. We get Jeff Straub here from Crabtree with us to bring us up to date on what's been happening with the Liberty Curtain project.
Hi, everybody.
Afternoon.
Everybody should have two handouts in front of them. One is just a summary board report that we're going to walk through, similar to what we've had before. Excuse me. And then I also have an overall project estimate that we're going to review as well today. And we really haven't gone through the overall cost estimate, but we had a sit down with the administration. I'd spoken to the superintendent, and then we had a follow-up meeting with your business manager, just as the district's trying to plan out your finances to the completion of the project of what has been paid to date, not just for construction, but really all costs throughout the project. So we validated those. Actually, we sat down last Friday, and we thought it was best to bring that all forward to all of you as well and walk you through that today. So first things, let's go through the report. If you go to the first summary page, project continues to, knock on wood, move very well with schedule. We are going to talk. We're still continue to have a hiccup with the electrical switch gear in the building, which we even just received an update on that an hour ago. But the electrician has a temporary fix that's going to solve the problem. We'll discuss that in a little bit. So just time-wise, we're 72% through the project. But as far as budget, we're 80% through the project right now. So really the building is essentially all shelled out, and we're just working through the interior finishes of the building right now. And we'll talk about that in some of the photos. Brief status. Again, I mentioned the schedule is on schedule, or we are on schedule. So the issue with the electrical switch gear was originally it was going to show up in December, which it was actually a little bit early. It was supposed to show up in January, February by the original schedule. Then it was pushed to March. Then we were pretty much not given any date. And this is happening nationwide. Really, there's no ability to control the manufacturer of the electrical switch gears. We just heard, unfortunately, an hour ago that it's going to be a year from now until the switch gear shows up, which we've heard that on similar projects. The solution, however, to that is I'm happy to say that the electrician has stepped up to the plate, and he has a temporary switch gear, or his switch gear, that they have dealt with this problem on numerous projects. Everybody's starting to get used to the new normal. And he has a switch gear that he's installing temporarily. And that temporary switch gear, which he was planning to switch out this summer, we may hear a change and the switch gear may show up this summer. But if it doesn't, he's prepared that switch gear will essentially be the electrical panels for the building for the first year that it would be open, and then he would install the permanent panels the summer of 2026. If there's a silver lining to this, if it is installed a year late, well, essentially the district's going to get panels that will have an extra year of life in them holistically. Again, sure. I'm trying to give you some kind of silver lining. And as well, he's taking full ownership of this right now. So giving him credit, that's not something I'm used to seeing. Yes.
Thank you. Just a quick question. Can you just update us when you can? This is his own personal equipment that he's using, or is he leasing it and we're paying for the lease bill, insurance?
You will not.
How does that work?
Okay, I don't have all the answers on that. I've seen this from other electricians the last few years. Essentially, many of them are starting to have some equipment as sort of a backup for emergency situations. So you will not be paying any lease charges for that. Essentially, he's taking ownership of this as his responsibility. So as far as I'm concerned, I have not heard, or nobody has heard, any costs. They're going to be borne by the district. And this electrician's been very fair with us throughout the entire project. I think he's had one change order the entire project so far. So he's
Thank you.
they have not been difficult. Okay, but if there's an update, I will bring that forward. And who knows, the switchgear may still show up. I had a project last summer, same thing, delay after delay after delay. That next thing you know, we were talking about what we're going to do to open the building. And then in June, one day, the switchgear just showed up. It was delivered to the site. The electrician didn't even know it was coming. So that's just how the industry unfortunately is. Okay. Separate from that item, the project is moving very well. If anything, we're maybe even a tad bit ahead of schedule. Really all the exterior envelope of the building is complete. Whether it be windows, storefront, curtain wall is 90% complete. Drywall is continuing throughout the building. They're trying to wrap that up in the next month. So before the permanent systems are turned on, so that none of that dust is pulled into the system. So they're starting to be very cognizant of making sure that everything is ready when the mechanical systems start turning on for air quality. And that's being discussed not only between the contractors, but there'll be commissioning agents that will verify that before any students or staff walk into the building. Ceiling tile throughout the building is being completed. Flooring is 80% complete for the one wing of classrooms, and the other wing, area C, will be starting this month, as well as the carpet. Actually, when I did this report, this was based on the last meeting. As of today, the administration carpet area is complete. Casework, so your cabinetry throughout the building is complete. Is 95%, and really that 5% is the library media center. That's the only cabinetry left in the building to be installed. Gym structure and ductwork has been painted as of today. Media structure is also painted. Propane tanks, which we had a lot of coordination on, is now 100% complete and has been inspected and filled on site. Plumbing fixtures are 80%. Frankly, they're probably even further than that at this point. There's been a lot of progress in the last 2 weeks. This is actually based on the last construction report from 2 weeks ago. Learning stairs in the main entrance right across from the administration is framed out, and toilet partitions are actually 100% complete. And we just found out this morning that they have even been signed off by the code official as fully compliant. And then the school advised that the furniture delivery is scheduled for mid-July. And then we also typically will get progress reports from all the contractors. Some additional schedule that we heard from the contractors this morning is there's a lot of, with this temporary power, we're targeting a March 25th startup. And that's going to be really critical because then we can do all the final finishes, for instance, the wood floor in the gymnasium. And that has a trickle down effect for the coming months that really will be doing the final finishes where heat becomes critical for the systems, for instance, starting up the sprinklers, charging the sprinkler system. Okay. Going through the photo report. Some of these are just going to be standalone photos, and then a few of them I'll point out. I'm trying to show you where we were in October versus where we are today. So main entrance essentially it's 100% under roof. And really the only thing is the metal panel needs to be installed on the front, which the metal panel installer was on site today. They've remobilized with the weather beginning to break. To the upper right, you'll see the entrance lobby with the student cubby areas, sort of seating, learning stair. And again, during design, the purpose of this was we wanted to have an area right across from the administration reception that whether you're going to be bringing a group of students together, but it also gives the staff the ability to monitor a group of students, whether it's before school or after school, with your staff, so that you're not having to have additional people at that location. So that was sort of strategic. The bottom two photos is just a classroom hallway, sort of in October, and then now. So everything is now fully painted out. Flooring is being installed as we speak down that corridor. This photo is actually from February 11th, and ceilings are going in as well. Following page is a before and after of the two classroom wings between them. And you can see in October, everything was in the only thing that was remaining was the metal panel. The wood grain metal panel has now been installed on the two classroom wings, and the media center, the metal panel was being installed today, actually, as we were there this morning. The bottom two is the other classroom wing, just a before and after over the last 3 months. Again, all painting is complete and flooring is going in at this time. Next page is the art music classroom, and this is right at the end of the main hallway. So it's an oversized classroom that will accommodate both art and music. And essentially everything is complete, just waiting on flooring, final electrical connections, and you'll see the two large ceiling clouds. And that was done purposely to to help trap sound, not only from the ceiling, but then sound bounces up and hits the upper side of those clouds as well for sound absorption. A typical classroom, this is actually in the kindergarten, first grade wing. Essentially all of the flooring is complete, as well as the ceilings. And actually, as of this week, the general contractor has locked all those classrooms down since they are complete. And contractors are being allowed in those areas only as they need to do some final electrical connections. The main office flooring was going down on February 11th. It is complete today and has been covered and protected. And then the bottom right is student cubbies in the hallways. Essentially, cubbies will be outside of every classroom, which creates essentially a fifth wall for classrooms. You never have enough space in classrooms. So this helps take something out of the classroom and makes available more room for the teachers for instruction. Next page is just a before and after of the main entrance. So a lot's changed in the last coming months, really just the metal panel on the front. And they're also holding on installing the final doors just because of materials coming in and out of the building, so we don't damage the main doors of the building. Before and after of the entrance lobby. So everything was painted out, windows installed. Next page is was just a photo of the toilet partitions being installed in one of the main bathrooms, as well as all the single occupancy toilets. And I'm sorry, there's a spelling there on my part, but all the single occupant toilets are complete throughout the building. And then the multi-purpose gym has been fully painted out, as well as ductwork is installed in there. And there's also a discussion today with the contractors is starting to they've been using the gym multi-purpose room as the staging or a storage. They're going to be clearing that out in the coming weeks as they prepare at the end of March for the wood floor to be showing up. Okay. Next page, just an overall payment contractor log. And probably the takeaway here is, again, we track this monthly and back and forth with the district on approval of pay applications. But as of today, a combination of final pay applications and pencil first drafts from the contractors, we're 80% complete with all the contractors at this time. And quite frankly, we might actually be further than that. The electrician has only billed out to 47%, but actually I think they're probably further than that, but that's their job when they want to apply. So either way, we're in very good condition right now. Overall contingency, right now the contractors have submitted process change orders of 23,000. We're going to come back to this on the overall project budget. But again, as we've mentioned before, we have a contingency fund of 542,000. We haven't even come close to touching that at the 23,000. We do have one other that'll bring it to 25 that's been processed. So again, we're at 1/10 of a percent. So think about this as we're 99.9% Is that right? On the project, and only a 0.1% change order, so very low for the project. There's going to be a few that I'm going to talk about after we go through the overall project log. And then the remaining pages, actually just 2 pages or page and a half, is just a list of the change orders that have been processed to date. Okay. So let's switch, and I'm trying to move through that quickly, so maybe I'll just go through this, and then we can jump into questions. So the district had said not only with construction costs, but where were we total project with all costs. So what we tried to do was take the original cost estimate from during design of the project and really evaluate not only construction, but all the soft costs that have occurred. And that's what you see on this page. So the 20.48, sort of about a third of the way down in blue is the construction cost. And now we'll start to talk a little bit about some of the soft costs. You'll notice construction contingency is highlighted in orange, and I'm showing it at $150,000. And that's sort of a change that we talked about with the district on Friday, is the overall contingency in the original budget was 540, but at this point we're 80% through the project. We feel pretty conservative that we can drop that by $400,000 today, as your business manager was planning for funds that need to be planned for in the coming months. I'm going to finish through the rest of it, but then we're going to come back to that contingency a little bit. Testing and inspections, we had budgeted $75,000. Actually, we've only used $25,000 to date, so we may end up actually dropping that as well. Regulatory agency fees and utility fees were 47, 32 combined. We actually budgeted 102, so we're good there. Some administration fees for some software, going down through locking down the fees for essentially we're billed out for all but about $40,000, as well as all the consultants, whether they be asbestos, civil engineer, geotech, initial surveys on the building. Really, we just went and validated all costs. Yes, Sam.
Jeff, under the testing and inspection,
Yes.
remember, it was actually at 150,000 originally.
I'm sorry. You are
Where are
right.
you, Sam?
Thank you, Sam.
Up here in the orange, the 2 in orange, because we want to show this, you know,
The
the
before and
savings
after.
from
Right there.
where we thought we were.
Keep going down.
Keep going. Big orange.
Right there, 75,000.
Correct. The
That was
75.
150.
Oh, it's supposed to be 150?
No,
Thanks. Well,
it was.
no, it was. We dropped that as of last week.
Oh, so this is okay.
Yes.
This is good, but I wanted to point out that when he gets to the savings point, those 2 areas in orange were where we had a large number to start.
Mhm.
Sure,
And just the other day in conversations, we decided to reduce.
that's great.
So I just want to point that out.
Oh,
That
it's
brought
okay.
us down by $500,000.
Yeah.
And actually, it's going to even drop a little bit further or a lot further by the time we get down to the bottom. Okay. Again, you always try to be conservative.
Sure.
Sometimes you run into things and it is what it is.
Jeff, I was
Okay.
gonna wait to the end to ask a question, but I just have.
Yeah, push definitely.
I don't, maybe I'm just confused. On this paper, it says revised, or it says the contract amount was $20,487,600. Then you added the change orders of 23,000, revised contract amount 20,510. Was the change orders already been in the contract?
They are.
So why did it increase the contract amount?
Let me finish on this part and then let's come up, because I'm going to talk about that a little bit more.
Okay.
We're going to go back up to the contingency and good point. Okay. Anyway, I think the rest of these, we pretty much they're just costs that were throughout the design, more with the site development, whether it be a site survey, geotech, food service consultant for your kitchen. Printing is lower than anticipated. We budgeted 41,000. That's really just a percentage calculation. We're actually only at 28,000. Another very large one that we were surprised was your financial consultant at the Act 34 provided us $458,000 for your financing. You're only at $101,000 for financing right now. That might go up slightly
Mhm.
if you need to do some additional final borrowing, but it's not going to come anywhere close to the 458. So, so when you know, as if you say, well, let me finish one more thing. Furniture and equipment, we're pretty much, you're right on budget from what we originally included. The bids that Brett brought in, 343. And then also you have the building side that we added to this budget of $20,000. Okay. So big, there's some small nuances in here, but if you take just the change to the contingency, the testing that Sam pointed out, and the financing, you're essentially talking about 825. We brought the overall budget down by $825,000. I don't know, but we didn't really bring it down, but it appears that we're going to spend $800,000 less than was originally budgeted. So we appear to be in very good shape right now for the project. Okay, actually, that's very pleasant to see that number. Let's go back up to the contingency for a minute. Let's talk about that a little bit, and I'll answer your question for that now. So correct, we're in this estimate, we're showing the 20.48. And that 23,000 that you saw on the other handout is within that $150,000 worth of contingency. So in fact, you'll see it off to the right in green. I got budgeted 25,000 or $25,000 roughly spent to date. That was why the discussion we had back and forth with the business manager and Sam on Friday was, let's not hold 540,000 anymore for your contingency. Let's take that down to 150. And it's hard pressed to feel that we're going to spend $125,000 before the end of the project with where we're at right now. Okay.
Bush, did that answer your question? So
Did
my
that-
understanding is that we wrote contracts with contractors based on everything working exactly like it should.
Right.
And then outside of that, we put in a contingency fund of 542,000. We have exercised some of that contingency, $25,000-ish.
Yeah.
So that $25,000 goes back on top of those original bids. So we're increasing the amount that the contractors are getting from the original bid, but we're still within the overall scope of the project because we had that contingency built in.
Okay, yeah, I just didn't know why it raised the amount if we had that contingency in there.
Because that contingency sat outside of the original bids from those contractors.
Jeff, real quick question.
Thank you, because I don't know that I explained it correctly. So thank you.
Yeah, you're the boss.
I apologize.
This is a worst case scenario question. If something catastrophic happened, and I highly doubt that, and it would run greater than the 150. I don't even know what it would be, but if it would happen,
Well, I can
where
give you
would
some
the
examples,
additional,
but
where would the additional cost for
Well,
that come from?
yeah,
Since we've dropped it down now.
good question. I think really ultimately this sheet, all it is a planning tool. It's a living document.
Right.
And it's really just for your business office to plan. Ultimately, if we would hit something catastrophic, you would just need to borrow, we'd have to stay more with the original cost estimate. So I think probably the takeaway today is we're substantially lower than what you originally planned on spending.
Right.
And that's what you worked with your financial consultant to put a plan together. So if we had to spend another 800,000, if everything went up, you had a plan to do that fiscally and be responsible. So it's really just a matter of, you would have to borrow a little bit more money or however that would come out of your capital. That would be something your business. So really what we were trying to plan at the end of the day, if you go to the bottom right-hand corner of this estimate, was your business office was trying to plan, okay, how much is spent to date and how much more do they need to plan around for your budget? And so everything that we know of today, it shows that you should spend about 22.6 on this project. And again, we were up in the mid 23s. You've spent to date 17.4, so that means your business office needs to plan for roughly about another $5.1 million. And in fact, what we said on Friday was, your business office asked, could we maybe track this monthly since we're starting to get close to the end of the project? And we said we would do that and update that so they can plan that accordingly. Let's go back to the contingency for a second, where I said we spent 25 so far. And do we feel safe and secure about the 125 that we're leaving for the revised contingency moving forward? Partly we felt good about that because we're 80% complete. There are 3 items that we're looking at right now for change orders because we're getting close to the end of the project. The art kiln has a specialized exhaust that needs to be dealt with, which is about $5,000. There's the sink in the art music classroom is very large, and there was a coordination that didn't work. So that's looking at about $2,000 that we're tracking. And some of the finishes in the media center and out in the hallways, we have what's called a hard stop. It's a very durable material for the students. Since we designed it a year and a half, 2 years ago, the manufacturer is now saying that it needs to be a backup of drywall to receive warranty on that material. And we've gotten pricing preliminary of $7,000 that we're tracking. So those aren't formal and ready to come to the district yet, but I wanted to bring those up today. So we are tracking those 3 items. And then when we look at that contingency, we sort of said, well, what else could be out there coming as we move to the end of the project? And really, there's not much in the building, short of what I just mentioned. What is potential is when we demolish the existing school in early June, could we see, for instance, some asbestos or something? That's possible. The other is when we demolish that building, we're going to try to get we're going to get the new parking lots done very quickly in less than 2 months. So what can sometimes happen is, say it starts raining for 2 months straight. We don't have the ability to just extend out those parking lots. They got to be ready for the kids to come back. What I've seen in the past is if it would rain really hard for 2 months, we might be in a situation where we have to remove some of the soils and have them replaced. It's called unsuitable soils. They're not dried out for proper compaction. And so we would track that. And actually there's a price set for quantities that we would track. And we would have an engineer confirm those on the site and report those to you. Those are really the only things that I could see. And that's not hundreds of thousands of dollars, but those are a couple things that we might run into. So that's where we sort of felt pretty confident about lowering the contingency for you today. And then again, we'll continue to track this moving forward.
So basically, if I did the math here, we have a little over 100,000 with including these 3 that you just mentioned.
Yep.
Left for contingencies. So
Correct. Yeah. So maybe, we might even be a little bit under that number, and we'll report this back to you as we move forward. Tentatively schedule wise, as soon as school lets out, there was a detailed discussion this morning. What is it? I think teachers wrap up June 9th, June 10th. And the next day they'll be starting the demolition of the building. It'll be roughly about 3 weeks to take down the existing building. And then through June and July, they'll be building the new parking. They're actually already starting to talk about finalizing some of the site work around the back of the building in the next month to sort of try to get ahead of things. So, other questions?
Important one for me. When do we
Yes, sir.
anticipate taking ownership of the building?
Well, effectively, you're going to start moving into the building. I think. Yeah. Some in May with some of the boxes. You'll really start taking things over in June. And then, the hard takeover will be like the end of July, beginning of August. So it'll sort of be a slow
Good pace.
move in or a gradual move in over a couple months.
So in my discussions with Lobar about that, they said the critical holdback on that is when all of the parking lots and access points are ADA compatible, once they have all of the curb cuts and all that kind of stuff in, and all that has been checked
Good,
off,
good point.
then they can turn over the keys to us and give us the building. So that's really what we're gonna be waiting for, and that'll probably be late July, early August.
Yeah,
You messing with
We can push it back to September.
that's a big
if you
night.
want.
me. No,
It will be a very stressful summer. There's a lot of moving parts just to obviously take a building down and turn it over, but so, and there's been a lot of planning. And the schedule is pretty detailed that the contractors are walking through, which the nice thing about that is it gives us the ability and you as the district to your staff to be able to monitor that. Are we staying on schedule? And we also can give you an update as we're getting closer to the end of the project, maybe May. You know, we're here today, maybe May would be a good date for the next report to all of you right before the summer starts.
I think that would be an ideal time because it's be right before the demo would start and all that summer.
Yep.
All that summer work. Okay.
Jeff, thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, just a quick question, or actually a request. Would it be possible, I mean, first of all, thank you for putting on board docs. We could look it over before the meeting. But I know that you've discussed the color coding of the cells.
Okay.
Would it be too much trouble for you to consider putting the color codes, what they mean somewhere on this document? We can repost it for everyone.
Yeah, I can do that.
That'd be super helpful.
Okay. And maybe just to answer that really briefly here, the color codes generally are, if it's more of something in our office, when it's green, that means we're actually entering a number. And when it's blue, that's a number that's not hard keyed. It's based on a calculation. So,
However you would like to do it, or take the colors away for
and-
the public,
and-
whatever.
or we can take the colors away.
whatever
The
works.
orange today was more just to highlight a few things that I wanted to make sure we talked to you about,
Sure.
like the contingency or the testing or the financing,
Mhm.
because those were substantial drops in cost from the previous budget.
Super.
Okay. Thank you very much, everybody,
Okay.
and have a good afternoon. And
Thank you,
hopefully,
Jeff. Appreciate it as
spring
always.
is coming.
All right. That's a good report. Positive news. All right, staying with the Liberty Curtain Project. Look at the new school marquee. And I guess if you've had a chance to look at these, there's, I think, 6 different quotes there for the marquee that's going to be located, I guess, at the entrance to the actual building or outside the entrance. And so I think Sam and Brett have all the details on this for us.
Yeah, so I have 6 quotes there, reached out to quite a few different companies. 4 of those companies are in Pennsylvania, one of them right here in Lock Haven. Stewart Signs, just something to note there, Stewart Signs worked with us on the Bucktail marquee sign. So our technology department was aware of them. So it was one of the companies that we reached out to. Really what we were looking for was the top portion of the sign is a backlit fixed sign that'll have Liberty Curtain Elementary on it. And then the bottom portion of the sign is a fully programmable message board that would be able to be programmed from the main office. It is a full color LED sign. One of the things that we are aware of is the masonry contractor for the Liberty Curtain project has donated his time and services and materials to be able to build 2 like brick pylons to hold the message board. So he has been willing to donate his services to be able to do that for us. So really the cost is in the message board. as you can see, the quotes range from about 18.9 up to 30-some thousand. They're really the same. We're looking at the same type of thing. When you look at the signs, we got quotes for anything from an 8mm to 10mm resolution. So that's the lower the number, the better the resolution in the video board. So we're trying, when we got the quotes, trying to compare apples to apples, so to speak. You guys have any questions about?
I did. Well, first, thank you all for putting this together and posting it. It does seem like the quotes are a little bit different. Like I see some have solar. So they're a little different. So did you put in that you wanted solar or how
No,
would we?
so strictly just ask for a double-sided sign between 8 and 10mm. You also will see as you dig into them is the warranties.
Sure.
Actually, the company's Signs Plus, which had the lowest bid, actually has the best warranty. I think it's a 10-year warranty. Stewart Signs also has a similar warranty. They're about $4,000 more expensive, but was in that general range. The other ones, the warranties were 5 years or less. Did not get into solar. Some companies, though, have wireless capabilities if you're unable to run the cable to the sign. Although in our situation, we are able to run the Ethernet cable to the sign, so we will not need any wireless package to be able to run the system.
That was my question. I mean,
I could
Okay.
also look at getting some, I know Brownie Signs included what the cost is to run their sign, and the signs are pretty comparable, but I could definitely, depending on, I could reach out to see what the cost comparison, but if they're saying $1 a day is the estimated operational
Mhm.
cost from the one from Brownie Signs here in
Mhm.
Lock Haven. So gives you an idea of approximately how much it may cost to run the sign.
Sure, Jeff. Would this be too much trouble to ask? When we're home, we can print all these things out and sit there and analyze them all and this and that. Would it be too much trouble just to have one table created? The list of the company, the price quote, what it includes, this and that, because that one with the solar panel, like you said, the other one has the cable part. So I mean, they're apples to apples, but like different varieties of apples.
Right.
Would that be too much trouble? And that way someone could just look at the table and boom, because
Right.
otherwise, if I'm just going by the price, that would be very easy to do. But there's those little tiny nuances in there that might be important to somebody, or maybe they should take it out completely and give us a new price. I don't know.
Right.
That's where I am right now. And I don't want to belabor it.
But it's there, I know that I'm sure you've worked with your staff and PTO and everybody that has a stake in the building. Is there one of these companies or one of these offers, quotes that you're kind of leaning towards for whatever reason?
I do know that the company that has the lowest bid that has come in has been very easy to work with. Has also the best warranty for their product. And then I also know that the company Stewart Signs that Jeremy and his team has worked with from our technology department up at Bucktail. So they would be, although they're not local companies, I think they're both companies that have, proven by their track record of communication and working with them on these quotes that, I feel confident in what they'll provide us.
Okay, so
Is there any, I just looked through real quickly, but it seems like most of the bids are in that 32 to 33 to 34,000, except that one outlier.
Right.
What's the difference? I
Yeah.
wonder.
Yeah.
It's like a $10,000 difference.
Right.
If we want to look,
Yeah.
Yeah.
kind of puzzled.
I'm not 100% sure why. Yeah. There are, I think, 3 companies that are right where you're saying, like between 26 and 32,000. We had
32,
three
33,
companies that were
33.
between 19 and 23, 24. And then three companies that were up in the 30 range. So,
That's Chair Jeff. That's why I'm thinking this table might be really helpful. Those little nuances there, like your warranty, your price, these extra things that they were including or not including. Because like you were saying, the pixels, you know, from a distance to 610, doesn't make a huge difference. But if you want 6, we're gonna focus on 6.
Right.
But be that as it may, I think that would be very helpful. And then if you want to put notes on there, like we've already worked with these 2 companies and also, you know, where they're located. Because I don't know how the other board members, they may all fluctuate just to the price, the package. I don't know, but it'd be so helpful instead of all of us keep printing all this out and comparing, writing notes.
When, and I don't know whether Sam or one of you guys can maybe answer, whoever can answer it. When do they need to know who we're going to go with? I mean, is that something that
Lead
is there a
well,
drop dead date on
um,
that, or?
I guess the biggest time crunch thing here is the masonry contractor is on site and doing work currently. If we delay it too much and he is on to another job, that's where it's going to get tricky. He cannot put these pillars in until we choose a sign because
Right.
it's determined on the, you know, the size of the message board. So I guess, you know, ideally I was hoping to get something at the March board meeting
That's
so that we
doable.
could,
I mean,
and that's what I told all these companies. I told them that, you know, I was going to present this information today in hopes that we could get it on the March board meeting. And I told them mid-March before we'd be ordering.
Then that means that what I'm hearing is that you would like to have a recommendation from us.
Yep.
For this upcoming board meeting.
For the board.
Given all of the things that you've looked at
Yep.
between you and Sam, have you decided on one that you would recommend above the others?
Right.
From two things. The company that actually came in the lowest has the best warranty that from the ones that what I'm looking at here. And then 2, they've also been the easiest to communicate with. So when I pick up the phone or shoot them an email with questions, they're pretty much on top of it. Some of these other companies, you know, I'll be honest, you know, the quotes didn't roll until the last minute. I told them I needed them by last Friday. And it was sometimes, you know, back and forth for a long time trying to get them to respond. So
that
worries
right,
me
that
if
sign
that's the
cost?
same way, if,
Yeah.
you know, if that's the way their services or their, you know, I just worry.
Well, you know, you've been in communication with all these guys, certainly more than any of us. And if that's the one that you feel most comfortable with and feel that you're going to have the best working relationship with and has the best warranty, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't go ahead and make that recommendation. You know, also on top of it, they have the best price.
Right.
So.
What was one, Blacktail, that Stewart?
So that was the Stewart one. And I'll be honest, I didn't find out about them until later, until talking to Jeremy and his team. But they were also very easy to communicate with, and I know that they've worked with them and recommended them. So that would be another one that I would consider.
Price difference between the 2?
It's about 6,000, I
Is it that
believe.
much?
Yeah.
I thought this
So.
one. Stewart is 23,410. So it's about a $4,000.
$4,000.
and
And
oh,
I don't know, Jeremy, if you, Stewart Signs, have you worked with him or Ed mostly, or? That would have been Brad that you guys worked with up there at the Bucktail one.
Yeah, so for the most part, for sales, Ed has worked with them. For support, I've worked with them. Stewart Signs has been pretty good about it. I think the original sign was like 10 years old. and was originally purchased with a grant. We just recently replaced the sign itself. Everything else was the same, but just the LED portion got replaced. My only recommendation is, the nice thing about Stewart signs is they use a fully web-based control. If we got the same sign at Liberty Curtain, then both the principals, facilitators, counselors, whoever have access to it, would have access to it the same way for both buildings.
Consistency.
Yeah.
I like that.
But I don't know what software Signs Plus uses yet. I can reach out to them now that we kind of have two front runners.
Yep.
And figure out if they use the same software.
And
Uh,
both of them have the same similar warranty.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
both had a 10-year
Yeah.
parts warranty, which the other companies did not. So
And both of them say that they have a lifetime free web-based software that goes along with it.
Mhm.
something to dive into
Yeah,
there.
so two contenders.
Right.
That was very helpful.
Yep,
Thank
yeah,
you.
and I can definitely vouch for
Okay.
Stewart Signs.
So consistency and,
Thanks, Jeremy.
yeah, that's a good point.
So what we'll do, in terms of the chart, to have something completely ready, I guess kind of depends on how much time you have. But at the very least, on this item, when we put it on the board agenda, we'll have recommendation and why we're making the recommendation between, or the top two, like
I think,
the
yeah.
admin recommends, Stewart and Science Plus, or the other way around, and why.
Mhm. Yeah, focus on those two. I'm good with that.
And then
Yeah, is that good for you, Brett?
Yeah, that's great.
What do you think?
maybe at the work session, we can narrow it down. to one that we can
Yep.
put on there for the.
I just
Yeah.
got one other question.
Yep.
It's probably safe to assume this, but the brick they're gonna use is the same as the brick that's being used in the building?
Yep,
Mhm.
that's the
Yeah.
the plan. We wanted to
Same
match the
company,
building.
same brick.
Yep.
Anything else on the sign? You have some direction on that, then?
I still wish we could offer someone to sponsor the sign, but
I got the
All,
last one.
the company, all they asked for is just, like maybe like a thank you, like in the newspaper or some sort of, letting them know that they, donated their services, the contractor, but really, they're doing us a huge favor to
That's a
Yeah.
significant
offer
Yeah.
all the materials and the labor to do this.
yeah,
so.
maybe if we put a little plaque in the brick or something,
Yeah.
just something.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you very much. A lot of work.
All right,
So we got the two
That's-
contenders, the two S's, right?
Stewart
Two out
Signs
of
Plus.
It's like, yeah.
Stewart and Signs.
Mhm.
Okay, moving on. Middle school concrete work. I hope you had a chance to look at some of his depressing pictures.
You didn't
Yeah.
have to pick it.
You could at least take them
I've
on a
seen
sunny
every
day.
I've seen it for
Well,
20 years.
it's not good, but
Oh.
No, they all look pretty shaky.
so I'm actually meeting with a contractor tomorrow to walk the project for a quote, but yeah, the sidewalk and the curb are
Mhm.
deteriorated from years and years of salt and everything. But the ramp to the bottom level of the auditorium and the retaining walls, that is all falling apart.
Mhm.
We'll
Is
do it
that-
all in one project. It's on a 10-year plan each year to do some concrete work. And by far, this is the worst that we have
Mhm.
in the district. So I will focus the attention on getting that done with this year's money.
And that includes replacing the retaining walls too,
Yes.
not just sidewalks.
Yeah, the sidewalk and the curb is a monopore. It's all together. It's,
Thanks, Brett.
Thanks, Brett.
yeah, to the one entrance there and then to the auditorium. So they had poured new concrete and it passed at some point. I don't know what year that was. But that section there was never replaced.
They're all-
Same, I think when we poured the walk up at Bucktail, they put like heat runs underneath it to melt the ice. Are you anticipating doing something like that here or not?
No. Those ones at Bucktail have still never been connected.
Oh, okay.
That's another story.
It must be that red salt they're using to keep the sidewalk good instead of that ugly blue crap.
It burns your paws.
They only use red up there at Bucktail anyway, don't they?
So this will be put out for public bid.
Beautiful.
And I have local contractors coming to provide budgetary quotes for us.
That's beautiful.
So all 4 of them are from this area.
Beautiful. Yeah, Chair Jeff?
Go ahead.
I've never been through those doors on the north side of the wall that goes underneath the auditorium. I've never been through those doors. I have no idea. What happens when you go through those doors? I mean, is that like a critical opening?
It
Or
would
is
be,
it sort of like,
It's a fire exit, essentially. So
For
when you
the-
go through those doors, it's right at the base of the stage. So there's the little walkway in front of the stage. Those doors are right there.
Mhm.
okay, all right.
So if you had to load any kind of equipment in and out, that's where it would go.
That's what, because I've never, okay.
Yeah.
Does it have to be wider or anything like that for your usage? Seriously,
No, we
Now's
just
the
need to
time.
replace what is there.
okay,
What we will probably do is instead of having a step up into it,
yeah,
is we will look at making it
level.
level so that wheelchair access ADA compliant.
Thank you.
So
Let's talk more about that. There's a water infiltration issue.
Roof, if you have, well, just let us know what you need, okay? But not having a step might be a future thing that we're gonna have to deal with later anyways.
right.
Yes, needs a drain. I mean, it's at the bottom of the slope and
Everything's
all
gonna
of,
run in
yeah,
there.
everything from around there runs right in.
There is a drain there,
But, yeah.
whether it works or not, or we need more. We'll address all of
They
that.
always
Yeah,
get
so when
clogged.
he, when he gets into doing all of that, we can look at that.
Yeah, no contractor's gonna pour concrete up to that and dump water into the building. So we'll address it.
Assuming you would. All right, anything else on the concrete work? Obviously, it needs to be done and will be taken care of.
Good,
And
good.
now, one of Elizabeth's favorite topics, hand dryers.
The
You should be
toilets.
dancing in the streets to see this.
I can't wait to hear this story. Go ahead, please.
So I put an example of a hand dryer that a lot of the other districts who use hand dryers, this is the kind they're going with. And they're pretty reliable. I actually prefer this one over a couple other models I've seen, including ones that we have installed already. But so I just put that in there for a visual, but hand dryers at the middle school, the #1 complaint from Mill Hall Borough is the infiltration of paper towels into the sewer system.
That's bad.
Something we had talked to them about. I'm pretty limited on options
Mm,
and this was on the 10-year plan from
Mhm.
before. So I said, there's 10 student bathrooms at the middle school.
mhm.
Maybe we could put 2 hand dryers in each bathroom, depending on size. The bigger bathrooms by the gym and the auditorium will at least have 2. Other ones, we might be able to get away with 1. But eliminate the paper towels from the student bathrooms will at least help with some of the problem.
Yeah, that's lovely. I had a quick question, Chair Jeff.
Go ahead.
Liberty Curtain. I didn't want to ask him here, but are they going to be using electric hand dryers or are they going to still stay with paper? Because it'd be nice if they were all bought at the same time or bulk or,
I already asked the question.
I thought you
Because I
did.
was planning to use whatever ones they had designed or, decided to go with for Liberty Curtain, but it is not, is paper towels.
Ugh. Okay,
So
all right. Is it too late? I'm sorry to
it's
ask
way
this.
too late.
Yeah.
It's already
Ah.
installed.
Okay.
You'd have to do electrical runs for them.
The good thing is they use the same size paper towel rolls that we use at the
Well,
other
they bet-
schools. So we did make sure that would fit.
That's, sure. And plus they're littler kids and they probably won't have the issues with the flushing of the extra
Oh, they do.
paper.
They still do.
Okay, I just got, I'm looking at this. Says about the 500-watt hand dryer, $505. And then the bottom, it shows 6 of them for $5,100. What's the difference? One says it's a high-speed commercial hand dryer.
You have to go on the webpage.
Because you're buying them in bulk.
Well, that's what
Yeah,
I
but
would
if-
like to see is a bulk buy, but
If you bought 6 at $505, it would be $3,000. $3,030, not $5,100.
Must be something special about them.
The only difference I saw in writing and I can read is one says commercial and the other doesn't.
One's an XLBW Eco, the other one's an XL SV
one.
1.1N.
Well, maybe Sam, you can just let us know at the work
What-
session, which,
Yeah, so the Eco was the better of them, and it
Mhm.
uses the
Less.
less amperage draw
Okay.
for the same amount of heat. So I discussed this with a couple other facilities managers at schools, and this was what Bellefonte particularly was using this model. And
good.
Yeah.
All right, this is exciting stuff.
Okay, there should be no more paper towels in the sewer. Sam won't get any more angry phone calls.
Well,
Well, it isn't.
Or,
the first thing may be true, but I
Frank.
can't guarantee the second one.
Well, I tell you, it's nasty. I felt bad for those guys. I see
on
them out
that
there.
issue.
Not a fun thing to fix.
All right. I think we've talked hand dryers to death, so let's move on to the bathroom additions, sticking with restrooms.
so also on 10-year plan was Robb Elementary. They have metal partitions now, heavily rusted. They had been sanded and painted in the past to get a couple more years out of them. We have a current quote, which is on here for new partitions. I've also solicited for a quote from a local contractor to see in comparison.
Thank you.
So
And Chair Jeff? I don't know how you want to do this, but I highly recommend you consider this. It looks like Commissioner Jeff Schneider is put in the bid, so if there could be some sort of qualifier next to his name or something, so people don't think that's Jeff Schneider, the commissioner. I mean, it just really stuck out. Maybe I'm the only person that would think that, but it's not the commissioner.
But it wouldn't really matter if it was, he's not employed by the school district. or
I know,
anything
but-
like that.
I
Just,
think all they have to do is look up at the top and see that
yeah,
it's Classy Records, and last I knew it, Jeff didn't work for Classy
okay, so
Records.
we've
no, Classy
put that-
Rectors is out of Clearfield.
Yeah, we've put that story to rest. Okay, done. Yeah, I would love to see a contractor, if there's any contractors out there locally, even in north central Pennsylvania, that'd be huge. If not, you try.
Clearfield's
Okay.
not that far. away.
Clearfield,
No, it's
North
not.
Central.
No, but. Let's
All
go.
right, any other comments, questions about the petitions? Okay,
We have the funding for it.
Yes,
Anticipated work this summer.
yes.
When do we have to let you know it's approved by to get the stuff?
I would like to, if I have quotes, I would like to get it approved. We can
Yes.
pass it through at the work session and onto the March board.
if you've got the
I would
quotes
love
for
that.
the work, time for a work session.
Right.
Mhm.
So my goal is to have all our summer work planned well before summer. Because the lead times on equipment, and then it's not the end of August
No,
when
that,
we're backed up trying to get things.
Right.
that makes perfect sense.
Mhm. Good, good.
Okay, that takes us into some of the stuff that most of these, if not all of them, we've discussed at least once or twice. We can just get updates on all of them with the Bucktail stormwater piping repair. I guess that's still kind of in limbo.
So I talked to Harger Utilities and both Thompson. I haven't heard back from Thompson, and Harger is working on the quote, trying to make sure that the budgetary numbers they give us are realistic. So they were working on some other quotes for work that they had, and this was coming up on their list shortly. But I just wanted everyone to know that I have reached out to,
Yeah. Just an update, sure.
you know,
It's,
2 local contractors for budgetary numbers. Once we have those, we can go to Chapman Township and try and work where we're gonna get this funding to do this.
Lee's up in Du Bois work.
I left a message on his personal.
all right, well, that's an ongoing project. The family consumer science room here in this building.
So-
We talked about this last time.
One update to this is that Principal Nick Varelli and myself met with the class again. He's got two parts of the class competing against each other for design. We discussed both of the options and, the pros and cons of each. And the class was gonna do some more work and come back to us with another presentation and, Q&A session. But it's a pretty cool project to work with that class and see what they come up with. So they took a field trip up to Bucktail to look at their room and, they ask a lot of questions about, cost and materials and labor involvement. And it's a pretty good learning tool for them. So.
Sounds like a great practical application for it.
Is it possible to consider this? With the CTC, Kurt Lynch, Dr. Redmond, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Lowe's might be interested in sponsoring some of the items. And
And-
how we may want to approach that.
Okay. Yes, we've had those conversations, and before I was even working here, they had bought some ovens and some other equipment. So we will certainly work with Lowe's.
Once they know the CTC is involved and all of what the kids are doing,
Mhm.
that's a big, huge.
Yeah, YBC may be interested as well.
Sure,
So
that's what, yeah, I'm just throwing a hook out there, see if.
Yep.
Any nibbles. Thank you.
All right. Moving on. New traffic pattern. I know this is one that we discussed a little bit. I think you might have.
So I
Some
just,
additional
the update is that I met with a foreman from RC Bowman, and we walked the project. I'm still waiting to hear back from another local wide to go through this WYDE. At least get two contractor ideas, but this will be, it's gonna be a fully engineered project, working with DEP because of the location and drainage that's off of the parking area that exists. So certainly, something that's not gonna happen right away. It's gonna take some time and planning to get this put together. But as soon as I get any kind of budgetary number, I will make that public so we can all get an idea of how much something like this will cost.
Is there any way, do we know how that would be financed? But all since it's not in, I don't believe it was in the 10-year plan.
It is not anywhere in our 10-year plan.
One of the thoughts that Joni and I have been talking about in terms of funding is looking at committing some funds from our unassigned fund balance to keep us at that 8% level where we should be. And I'm not sure off the top of my head exactly what that number is, but that might, because it's gonna take a while, it might take us a couple of years to work up to the cost of it.
Right.
So just looking at whatever sources we can, whether it's interest income or committing some funds from our unassigned fund balance to keep us where that needs to be. I think those are all avenues that we can use to help start putting aside money for this job.
Sure.
Chair
Oh,
Jeff?
that makes sense.
So you have to let us know, why is this on here?
It started with a conversation with Millhall Borough and the problems that exist with traffic around the middle school.
But we also recognize this is a continuing problem. We know that a few years ago, before Sam and I were here, there was a traffic study that was done. And at that time, it was a $3.2 million effort to redo the whole thing. And we didn't believe that was viable. And the proposal that we looked at didn't seem to make sense to us for a variety of reasons. So we're kind of went back to the drawing board. We think we can do it for a far smaller price. So that's where we're kind of rethinking what was done there.
Dr. Owen, I would add, I was the administrator at the middle school at that time when that study was done and everything. And so I believe they gave us multiple different versions of what they could potentially do. You're absolutely right. The number that we got back was not even feasible for us to even consider. So at that time, it was something that we were looking at, but it was removed from the plan because we just knew if at those rates, it
Well, that was
wasn't
part of
going to
that
happen.
athletic study that we did
Correct, Jeff.
about 4 or 5 years
Yeah,
ago.
I would say about 4 years ago.
And because that was redoing everything. I mean, it was taking that whole, the oval out and putting in bus drop offs. And I mean, it was a pretty elaborate thing.
It was pretty elaborate. It's more than I think we need. And if we think about cost escalation from 4 years ago to now, it's at least a $5 million project to do that same kind of thing.
No, I'm sure. If not more. So,
Okay, well, I think not right now. I'm not suggesting we discuss it now. It's for the whole board if they're so inclined. But I've brought this up a couple of times and I'm not sure why. But if the bus pulls up and the kids just get off the bus, you don't have the backup. So then we wouldn't have to do this project. So for whatever reason, they're not doing that anymore. And if we know what the problem is, maybe we should discuss the problem first and then decide how much we want to dedicate towards this project, because some alterations might be needed. And then maybe not so much all the way. So I'll just leave it at that.
So we are addressing that, and that's something, the conversation I'm having with the staff. We are reducing the amount of time to almost nothing where the kids are waiting. We've already made that change.
I've seen.
And for next year, there won't, I've said that we are not going to start next year with the kids waiting on the bus for the adults to open the door. We're not gonna do it.
Beautiful.
So the problem will be fixed. I think that there is continuing to be a problem with how the buses stack up and how parents stack up, especially behind along Kyler there. I think it's just a function of the dramatic increase in the number of parents who are dropping off and that really kind of non-functional intersection that's behind the middle school in front of the Mill Hall Elementary.
Mhm.
So we're trying to think of a way where we can just reduce the traffic demand in that area by moving buses or moving parents out of, closing off Kyler Avenue essentially for parent traffic. So that doesn't get tangled up. So we have one set of parents can go down to Mill Hall, and they just stay on, what's that street
Peel.
in front of
Kyler.
the one that goes in front of the tennis courts?
Peel
Peel,
Avenue.
So we have Mill Hall parents on Peel Avenue. We have the Mill Hall and Peel, middle school going around this other loop.
Mhm.
And that kind of separates the traffic.
Sure, I hear what you're saying. I just feel that, at least like you said, that traffic study, that's one thing, not to go too far back into history, but it was more of a design plan. And like, there was never like, we never really talked to the parents, like, why don't they want the kids on the bus? Or why does that number keep increasing? So what I'm saying is to discuss that problem too, the situation, and then to move forward, because every year, if we have more and more parents driving their kids to school, it seems like that's been the trend. It
Part of
has-
that was a reduction in the number of bus drivers and buses and operational pieces. And so
Sure.
you're right, Elizabeth, there were multiple times there. And I know we changed how we try to approach it 2 or 3 different times just to see if we could improve the process. But
Yeah.
it has consistently been an issue. I do agree. Another factor into it was when we brought 5th grade. And I think once we brought the more younger students in, you saw more parents more inclined to drop some of those off. And so
Right.
those are just my take on a couple of those situations.
No,
over
you're
time.
right.
So this is also not a Keystone specific issue.
Oh, of
But
course.
superintendents across the country are facing the same thing, the same issue where, and I think a lot of it also came from COVID.
Sure.
When parents figured out that they could transport their kids, it gave them more time with their kids. I'm sure there's a lot of reasons why, but once parents figured out that they could transport their kids,
Mhm.
then they thought, well, why do I have to deal with the bus? And they never got out of that habit.
Sure, no, I understand. There was multiple layers to this. So, before we jump too far in, but I see that you're looking at all the angles.
Mhm.
I deeply appreciate it.
Okay, moving on. We talked about this a little bit last time, converting some library space at the middle school for a couple new classrooms that are needed. So I don't know if there's anything new or different on that
So
front.
the only update I have is that I did meet with an architect. And we spent some time over there, walked through the space. He is putting together a quote for us on initial design and engineering work. So because this is dealing with structural and electrical and HVAC, we need to have an engineer
Absolutely.
put their stamp on whatever it is we're gonna do. So they're putting that together for us right now, and then we'll be able to take whatever he provides to us and go to public bid for hopeful local contractors to bid on the work. So
So are we looking at this for potentially starting next school year?
they would really like this to be done before next school year. And it's really not as intense as we think, because the way that we've asked to divide the room up, it kind of splits the windows, so there's no real structural. It's just building some
It's
walls.
not load bearing, it's like
Yes.
partitioning.
Yes,
Sure.
and we're not changing the exterior structure of the building at all. It's just a matter of building, 3 or 4 walls and creating 2 separate classrooms
With air.
with, yes, and the way that the ductwork is currently set up and with supply and return, it'll be easily separated, so there won't be a major expense into that, so.
That's lovely.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right, last item on the agenda. The Woodward Cafeteria serving line modifications. I guess we make some changes to make that more efficient over there.
Yeah, I wish Brett would have stayed a little bit for that, but it was brought to my attention in the last week or so that there's some serving line issues at Woodward since the increased number of students. So we've been looking at options on what would be most cost effective to get more students in front of the food at a given time so we could move faster. And one of the solutions we come up with was to, right now, their food is being handed out a doorway,
Yes.
which is 36 inches wide.
Yeah.
They get handed a plate of food out the doorway and then they move on. So what we're looking at is extending that opening from the door
Mhm.
and creating a serving line that will be at least 6 feet, it's about 6.5 feet long, where you could put, 3 or 4 students in front to get their food and move along. So it would take cutting the wall and making sure that, there's a lintel in place and putting a roll-up door so you could isolate it from
Mhm.
the gymnasium. And so that's where we're at right now.
I remember seeing that when we did the walkthrough 8 years ago, whatever. I don't remember, are there any other schools that have the pigeonhole, or this is the last one, right? Because I know Bucktail, they did that whole new one. Any other schools that where we have just little handout slot that you know of?
I'm probably not the right person to answer
I
that, because
don't
I
I
think
think
that
so, maybe
think it's-
Liberty Curtain, because of the way their setup is, but I'm not even sure.
Liberty
about that.
Curtain, yeah, but the current Liberty
Right, I
Curtain,
mean,
they
the
actually
current Liberty
walk
Curtain.
into the kitchen.
Yeah, they walk,
walk
which is
through.
bizarro too, but whatever.
And Sharon looked at that design for Woodward as well, but for ADA compliance, it wouldn't work
Mm-mm.
and space. So cutting the hole in the wall and
No, yeah. I think this is the
expanding
last
that.
one, yeah.
is gonna make
Mm-hmm.
the most sense all around. So I'm gonna work on getting some quotes for that.
Great.
Isn't there a dishwasher or something like to the right side of the wall, or
Now,
when you walk, look at the door, right to the right, I thought there was a window there with a dishwasher, so they return their trays and stuff.
at Woodward,
Yeah,
yeah, it's almost a separate space though,
okay.
because
I don't use a dishwasher any longer, I don't think.
when you walk into the kitchen from the gymnasium and you look left, their steamers and serving line is all there,
Mhm.
but they serve out through the one corner and another. There's a door that opens up to the serving line. It's kind of weird.
It's bizarro.
And then there's a refrigerator on the other side of the wall.
I
So
was trying to
we'll keep
remember.
all the existing equipment in the kitchen, so we don't have that expense. And spend the money on opening up that one doorway.
That sounds great.
So
It's a good compromise, I think. Yeah.
No, I think it's a good plan. I think it's a lot more efficient. All right. Unless anybody has anything else for the good of the order here.
Maybe now that you're so far in with that redesign for the students, just
Which
plugging your,
redesign?
what? Oh,
What
the
redesign?
What are you
item,
talking about?
item,
The
D2,
FCS room.
D2. The Central Mountain Middle School, we know it's always been on the back burner, but if this works out as well as it sounds like it's going, maybe in a year or two.
we're looking at next year.
Oh,
You're saying the consumer science.
yes, in the middle school.
Here, and
Central Mountain.
utilizing
That's high
the
school.
CTE kids to help with the design,
Yeah.
maybe do that.
Yeah, like that would be the template.
Right, the next step.
This
would be
one's here.
looking
Yeah.
at-
Yeah, I've already talked to Mr. Fred Hoy about next year, we attack the middle school
Great,
with design competition.
great. That's exciting. Thank you. Done.
Anything else?
We can't.
Jeez, we got
Want me to keep
almost
talking?
15 minutes.
I'm surprised you don't.
Yeah.
No,
All
it was very
right,
well presented. Very good.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
Okay, that's good. At
2:46.
2:46.
Our meetings are on the
Break.
fourth Thursday or fourth Tuesday, right?